Whisper in the yard and turn the trees all into toys. Lay there on the ground and turn the dirt into your joy. Before you start to drift and your soul begins to scream, I just wanted to tell you that you're listening to a dream.
Pace's Playground. Pace's Playground Podcast. Pace's Playground Podcast. UFC 186 Johnson versus Origuchi. John Makdessi.
John, you've been WKA gold medalist, Junior Olympics also. You've been on the USKBA circuit. Have you performed solely point fighting, or have you also performed forms, katas?
I was never a kata person. In my younger time, taekwondo, I did some katas, but I went straight into competition. I always fell in love with competition. I found katas were too boring, you know what I mean? Like to look in the mirror and do katas for me wasn't practical.
I'm a forms guy because I perform karate too. I would prefer katas over point fighting.
I mean, I respect the forms. I respect the weapons, the weaponry. You know, what I mean, back in the Shotokan days, I would see all kinds of crazy stuff. And back in the old days, when I was doing taekwondo, my sensei would make me break wood and do a demonstration. You know what I'm trying to say? But I just fell in love with competition. I just fell in love with the training and the contact. I love full contact. I love contact.
Do you think that preference for katas or point fighting comes from a personality standpoint? Some people have a personality, they will prefer point fighting. Some other people will prefer kata, and that comes down to which personality you are deep down.
I mean, not really. I just think that it's all up to the individual. Everyone has their. I mean, you fall in love with whatever you do touch. You know, I touched something in a young age, and I just fell in love with it. It just kind of clicked. I never really think it was automatic for me. It became second nature. You know what I mean? I didn't really think too much about it. You know, my direction was more competition versus the trainers I was working with in my lifetime direct me more to competition versus kata. So it's all perspective, you know what I mean?
And being very active on the competition circuit, dealing with the pressure, the stress, preparation, does that gives you an edge when you decide to become a MMA fighter for career-wise?
Yeah, I mean, I truly believe that because of my history, my past, building up to where I'm at today, I find that it just makes me more confident because of my preparation, and I truly believe that at the end of the day, for me, it's all about preparation. It's the way I train, the way I carry myself, mentally, physically, spiritually. You know what I mean? I don't just go train and then go home. It's 24/7. You know, being a mixed martial artist, it's a lifestyle. You know, it's a way of living.
And I've read somewhere that you once were a cook. Is that your secret talent?
Well, actually, no. Right now, I'm very lucky. At home, my girlfriend, she does all the cooking. But in the past, my family owns restaurant business. You know, if you look at Zesto right now, my family owns Zesto.
There you go.
I'm supporting my family. You know what I mean? And I just grew up in the cooking because my family is they're big in cooking and owning restaurant businesses. So that was my job. You know, washing dishes and doing some cooking on the side. Being able to cook and to be more aware of nutrition, how important it is, and working with a professional guy like Ben Hoffman, you know, when it comes to the meal plans, it helps. It makes me train better and train harder, and most importantly, be healthy for my weight cuts. He just sends us the meal plans, like what the combinations, the measurement, because everything is weighed, everything is pre-planned. You know what I'm trying to say?
So, did you win your girlfriend over your cooking talents?
No, I mean, she's right there. She can ask you that question if you.
His skills.
Chad Laprise.
Chad, you're 10-0, but you're still described as quote-unquote a rookie in UFC. When does a fighter of your status begin thinking about moving up the ranks of the weight division?
I'm 2-0 in the UFC right now, so obviously I need to pay my dues and keep racking up wins. And, if I'm 4 or 5-0 in the UFC, then maybe I have a little more credit.
Your victories have come in a decisive manner for the most part. So do you think that is going to help you move up the ranks in maybe for a future career?
Yeah, exactly. And the one thing with me is I'm a very exciting fighter. You know, people don't want to watch people who are boring. So by putting on very exciting fights, then that's definitely a way to climb up the ranks.
Do you put that into your fight preparation, meaning that you won't only focus on your opponent, but say I'm going to add something a little more in my prep so I give to the fans an exciting fight?
Obviously winning is first and foremost, but then a close second is being an entertainer. You know, this is definitely what we are. If the fans are bored, they're not going to come watch the fight. And if there's no fans there, then I'm not fighting. So I always look to put on a show, and in training I practice those moves as well.
How much does those career, worries are important, or do they affect your performances? You're maybe going to start losing focus on your opponent and start thinking about, I have to put on a show if I want to keep a career.
You can't think like that. It's always in the back of your mind. But every time you go through the fight, I know that I have a job to do, and that's to win that fight. So that's kind of all I'm focused on fight night.
Chris Clements.
Chris, I've read that you have a background in taekwondo. How do you translate your background into your current MMA fights?
I think a lot of my taekwondo background comes basically out of my MMA as my movement. It helps me react a little bit, keeps me on my toes, and I can get in and out a lot quicker, I think, than a lot of other guys who come from like a traditional, more flat-footed martial art. So, and then my spin moves. I'm very good at spinning back fists, back kicks, back reverse roundhouse kicks, and I just think taekwondo just gave me that base that's a little bit different than the regular base for MMA. So,
general knowledge of taekwondo is that it produces really great kickers. Does that apply to you as well?
I have a lot of power in my kicks and stuff, but I'm good 39 years old, and I'm probably the shortest guy in my division, I think. So I'm not throwing too many taekwondo head kicks these days, but I still prefer to kick, and my kicks come off, without me thinking. It just happens. So
a lot of karate practitioners, taekwondo practitioners, as yourself, always or oftentimes say that distance coverage is the main heritage from their training. Is there some other type of heritage that comes, maybe not just technically, but maybe philosophical aspect, the mental aspect?
I started taekwondo as a young teenager, and it just taught me a lot of discipline and how to deal with different situations, because I was constantly presented with things I was unfamiliar with. I think that's helped me with my training nowadays, and especially consider myself an original martial artist. I don't consider myself, a mean guy. When I go in there, it's art to me. I'm putting on a show, and I'm very creative. And I think that's one of the things that came from taekwondo was my creativity.
Aces Playground Podcast. Find it, hear it on SoundCloud and iTunes. Comment, react, or troll via Twitter at PlaygroundPod, Facebook.com/PlaygroundPodcast, email playgroundpodcast@hotmail.com.
PlaygroundPodcast.com.